Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Good morning.
Good morning on this lovely day.
Rainy day. Anyway, come rain or shine, we must read Srimad Bhagavatam. So here we are.
Alright, Canto 3, Chapter 31, Text 25.
25.
Cheers.
Chapter title?
The movements of the living entities.
Haribol.
Om Namo
Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
It's just somehow on that video. After coming out of the abdomen, the child is given to the care of persons who are unable to understand what he wants, and thus he is nursed by such persons. Unable to refuse whatever is given to him, he falls into undesirable circumstances. Purport. In the abdomen of the mother, the nourishment of the child has been carried out on by nature's own arrangement. The atmosphere within the abdomen was not at all pleasing, but as far as the child's feeding was concerned, it was being properly done by the laws of nature. But upon coming out of the abdomen, the child falls into a different atmosphere. He wants to eat one thing, but something else is given to him because no one knows his actual demand, and he cannot refuse the undesirables given to him. Sometimes the child cries for the mother's breast, but because the nurse thinks that it's due to pain within his stomach that he's crying, she supplies him some bitter medicine. The child does not want it, but he cannot refuse it. He is put in very awkward circumstances, and the suffering continues. Sometimes it's like that as an adult when you ask for things and people don't let you eat it or they give you something else. And that in itself is horrible, so I can't imagine as a child and you can't express it. It's true if you sometimes, I mean, I'm not an expert obviously, but babies crying, everyone has an opinion on it. One person, oh no, he's got wind. Oh no, you need to turn him to his side. Oh, you didn't feed, you're not feeding him enough. Oh, he feels really cold. No, he feels really hot. You know, if you have a baby in a room, everyone has an opinion. Except asking the child, what is it you want? Why are you crying?
Good point. I mean, it's difficult to know. Actually, I was thinking how this very much relates not only to children but to adults. And as adults, we also sometimes have problems communicating what it is exactly that we want, or knowing what it is that we want even. Or we're conflicted by what we think we want and what we think we need, or what we think we deserve, or what we think we should have, and that's a whole inner conflict. But then there's a real lack of ability to communicate often what it is that we want. You know, sometimes we may want something from someone, but we're afraid to ask. Why are we afraid to ask? Maybe we're afraid of refusal, or afraid of rejection. You know, so many different things. So throughout our entire life, we kind of suffer, you could say. It's a perpetual suffering of desiring, but maybe not feeling that we are deserving, and then frustration, or desiring things that aren't so good for us, you know, like that, and then getting them and suffering. So it's you know, I was just thinking, this is just an introduction to the material world, basically, for a child. It's a perpetual thing. What was I hearing this morning? Oh yeah, one lecture I was hearing that how not being oh man, anyway, I have to come back to that. But it's related, just to get the phrase the exact way. I'll come back to it. We'll remember it.
Okay.
If not, we'll share it in the comments.
Yeah, we will.
Next verse.
Yes.
Text 26, right? Laid down on a foul bed infested with sweat and germs, the poor child is incapable of scratching his body to get relief from his itching sensation, to say nothing of sitting up, standing, or even moving.
Awful.
Purport. It should be noted that the child is born crying and suffering. After birth, the same suffering continues, and he cries because he is disturbed by the germs in his foul bed, which is contaminated by his urine and stool. The poor child continues to cry. He is unable to take any remedial measure for his relief. So again, this kind of state of helplessness, which renders us, stressful, or renders us levels of anxiety. Again, it's a common condition. Even when we can move, even when we can scratch, you have an itch, but sometimes just scratching the itch doesn't make it go away, So it's like, and there are also psychological itches or other itches that we have, itches of desires, itches to, for some people it might be itches to shop. Some people it might be itches of sex life, itches of food, itches of drugs, itches, that itch on the what?
To clean.
To clean. Okay, that's an interesting itch.
Some people, yeah.
Some people are what's it called? Yeah.
OCD.
OCD. Yeah. So like that, there's perpetual itchings in the material world also that are hard to satisfy, even when you can move. So anyway, that's my thoughts.
Yeah, and I was thinking, if you think of these movies where they torture people, basically the torturing is such that they are in a condition where either they're being injected, so they're like paralyzed, or they're tied up in a straitjacket. But the point is that they can't sit up, they can't roll over, they can't move. They're normally like, mouth is like those grey tapes you get, those strong ones, they put it on their mouth so they can't take it off. And that we accept in a movie as, oh no, the bad guy got them, and they're like suffering. But yeah, this is the way it's described, how we enter the material world, and we are for some time really
bound up.
What a lovely
wonderful breakfast conversation. Text 27.
In his helpless condition, gnats, mosquitoes, bugs and other germs bite the baby, whose skin is tender, just as smaller worms bite a big worm. The child, deprived of his wisdom, cries bitterly. The word vigata jnana means that the spiritual knowledge which the child developed in the abdomen is already lost to the spell of Maya. Owing to various kinds of disturbances and to being out of the abdomen, the child cannot remember what he was thinking of for his salvation. It is assumed that even if a person acquires some spiritually uplifting knowledge, circumstantially he is prone to forget it. Not only children, but also elderly persons should be very careful to protect their sense of Krishna consciousness and avoid unfavorable circumstances, so that they may not forget their prime duty.
Can we read that last sentence again?
Not only children, but also elderly persons should be very careful to protect their sense of Krishna consciousness and avoid unfavorable circumstances, so that they may not forget their prime duty. Yeah, it's true. Like, when you get old, you lose your hair like you had no hair when you were born. You're pushed around in a wheelchair like you were in a pram. And then when you were a baby, you had to have like baby food all mashed up. So when you get older, you have like, because your teeth fall out, they're no good, so you have mashed up food, or food in a drink form. And And then you cry pitifully, and you cry, but like when you're a baby, when you get older, you'd be lucky, because when you're, at least when you're a baby, you're cute, relatively cute, people come to you, but when you're old, you're not, so you cry.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, when you get old, you're kind of ignored.
Yeah, you're ignored, and you cry, and that's it, and you die.
God. Don't think I can follow that one. Let's move on to the next verse. Text 28. In this way, the child passes through his childhood, suffering different kinds of distress, and attains boyhood. In boyhood, he also suffers pain over desires to get things he can never achieve, like I was saying earlier. Imagine when, God, oh Lord. And thus, due to ignorance, he becomes angry and sorry. Purport. From birth to the end of 5 years of age is called childhood. After 5 years up to the end of the 15th year is called poganda. At 16 years of age, youth begins. The distresses of childhood are already explained, but when the child attains boyhood, he is enrolled in a school which he does not like. He wants to play, but he is forced to go to school and study and take responsibility for passing examinations. Another kind of distress is that he wants to get some things with which to play, but circumstances may be such that he is not able to attain them, and he thus becomes aggrieved and feels pain. In one word, he is unhappy, even in his boyhood, just as he was unhappy in his childhood. What to speak of youth? Boys are apt to create so many artificial demands for playing, and when they do not attain satisfaction, they become furious with anger, and the result is suffering. I mean, it's true. What can you say? It sounds horrible, and I try to be optimistic, although I guess to some extent I'm pessimistic. Prabhupada says we should be optimistic about spiritual life and pessimistic about material life. But, try to be optimistic. But this is just the facts. This is the way to... And as I was reading through, I was thinking of circumstances, like Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada mentions here that, in your childhood you want to want to get things to play with. And I remembered Prabhupada's pastime where he wanted a gun or something, right? Remember, he wanted a gun and his father wouldn't get it to him, and he threw like a proper tantrum. And then I think in the end his dad bought 2 of them. so like that, it's like, and if you have young children, they will freak out like anything in the middle of the store, lose it, and some people are very shy and they don't want everyone looking at them, and then all of a sudden the kid starts and it's like, and what to speak of. Then Prabhupada goes on to mention about youth, and especially boys. Boys are generally very competitive. Not to say that ladies aren't, it's just competitive in a different way. But boys, I know, being in a boy's body, still in my youth also. When I was a young man, it's like, it's so easy to have so many demands of the way things should work and should go, and and anger is like a big issue with a lot of people, actually with a lot of men, externally. Just being angry. We were, in a shop yesterday, and recognizing how frustrated people were getting because it was very crowded. Yeah. And how easily agitated. And it doesn't take much. People are right on the edge. It doesn't take much, and then boom, explosion. And even I had one interaction because I asked one lady that worked at the shop if she knew where such and such item was, but she was with some gentleman, but he had turned around and was looking on the shelf at something. So I just asked her quickly, and then and then he turned around and he said, "Yes, thank you." and kind of, dismissed me, which I thought, hello, because false ego is just such a rascal like that. And then I said, no problem, and then tried to explain. He tried to explain, go away, and I tried. So it was like, and Bhava Bhakti was like, yeah, it's a clenching moment. Anyway, like that. So much distress in the material world, good Lord. Why do we stay here? We shouldn't want to stay, we should want to get out.
Alright, text 29. With the growth of the body, the living entity, in order to vanquish his soul, increases his false prestige and anger, and thereby creates enmity towards similarly lusty people. Purport. In Bhagavad Gita, 3rd chapter, verse 36, Arjuna inquired from Krishna about the cause of a living being's lust. It is said that a living entity is eternal and as such qualitatively one with the Supreme Lord. Then what is the reason he falls prey to the material and commits so many sinful activities by the influence of the material energy? In reply to this question, Lord Krishna said, there is lust which causes a living entity to glide down from his exalted position to the abominable condition of material existence. This lust circumstantially changes into anger. Both lust and anger stand on the platform of the mode of passion. Lust is actually the product of the mode of passion, and in the absence of satisfaction of lust, the same desire transforms into anger on the platform of ignorance. When ignorance covers the soul, it is the source of his degradation to the most abominable condition of hellish life. So it's just what you were saying, no?
Yeah, I think so. Definitely.
So would you actually read the next paragraph then?
Certainly. To raise oneself from hellish life to the highest position of spiritual understanding is to transform this lust into love of Krishna. Srila Narottam Das Thakur, great Acharya of the Vaishnava Sampradaya, said, Kama Krishna Karmarpane. Due to our lust, we want many things for our sense gratification. But the same lust can be transformed in a purified way so that we want everything for the satisfaction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Interesting, very important. Anger also can be utilized towards a person who is atheistic or who is envious of the personality of Godhead. As we have fallen into this material existence because of our lust and anger, the same two qualities can be utilized for the purpose of advancing in Krishna consciousness, and one can elevate himself again to his former pure spiritual position. Srila Rupa Goswami is therefore recommended that because in material existence we have so many objects of sense gratification which we need for the maintenance of the body, we should use all of them without attachment for the purpose of satisfying the senses of Krishna. That is actual renunciation. So, here we go. Have this. Using microphones, using phone, camera, video, using YouTube, Facebook, some drink, nutrient drink to keep body and soul together, be healthy. Yeah. I have a wife, she has a husband. All these items are meant to either assist us and help us to be more Krishna conscious by serving Krishna, or they will become instruments of degradation, basically. I think that's it.
Mm-hmm. It's so true. Not to open anything up in the last 5 minutes, but it's like the gun laws and the debates, Is the gun dangerous, or is it the person holding the gun?
Well, if there was just the person without a gun, I wouldn't feel as threatened than a person holding the gun.
But what if it was a policeman? And
But I get your
protecting
point.
you?
Your point is...
I guess this isn't a place to debate gun laws.
Certainly is
But
not.
it's just an example.
But the point is that a thing is just a thing. It's neutral.
Mm-hmm.
The charge, positive or negative, quote unquote, is given by the consciousness of an individual
A living
who comes in contact with it.
Yeah.
Someone might say, having some drink, that's not good. Someone might say, whatever, water, you have to drink certain type of water. It has to be ionized water, or water from certain springs.
I got it from the tap.
Some people, don't use a phone, don't use it too much. I knew one devotee, he had a phone, but he kept it in the original box in a closet and only took it out like once a day to use it, which actually is probably the best thing. But what is the charge that we give to inanimate objects? They're neutral. We give the charge. Money is the source of all greed, or money is the source of all evil in the world. We hear this thing. No, money is money, and whoever uses that money can use it for good, can use it for bad, or can use it for transcendence. So you have good, karma, bad, vikarma, and transcendence, akarma. So like that, it's how we decide to use it. Very good point.
Thank you very much.
On that note, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just remember that this is the last week that the YouTube videos, these videos, sorry, if you're watching on Facebook, will go out on Facebook on the ISKCON London Temple Facebook page. They will cease to go out on that page from Friday this week. They'll just be on the YouTube channel. So see you there.
All right, so crossover, if you want to keep watching, to the Bhagavatam Bites channel.
And Bhakti Vision.
And Bhakti
if you
Vision.
watch Bhakti Vision, that's another YouTube channel. And that will also just be on the YouTube channel.
Okay, thank you all very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
And have a Happy New Year if we don't see you before.